Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Chapter 10, Power of Mastermind, the Driving Force, the Ninth Step to Riches. Power is essential for success in the accumulation of money. Plans are inert and useless without sufficient power to translate them into action. This chapter will describe the method by which an individual may attain and apply power. Power might be defined as organized and intelligently directed knowledge. Power, as the term is here used, refers to organized effort, sufficient to enable an individual to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent. Organized effort is produced through the coordination of effort of two or more people, who work toward a definite end in a spirit of harmony. Power is required for the accumulation of money. Power is necessary for the retention of money after it has been accumulated. Let us ascertain how power may be acquired. If power is organized knowledge, let us examine the sources of knowledge. 1. Infinite intelligence. This source of knowledge may be contacted through the procedure described in Chapter 6, with the aid of creative imagination. 2. Accumulated experience. The accumulated experience of humankind, or that portion of it which has been organized and recorded, may be found in any well-equipped public library. An important part of this accumulated experience is taught in schools and colleges, where it has been classified and organized. 3. Experiment and research. In the field of science, and in practically every other walk of life, people are gathering, classifying and organizing new facts daily. This is the source to which one must turn when knowledge is not available through accumulated experience. Here, too, the creative imagination must often be used. Knowledge may be acquired from any of the foregoing sources. It may be converted into power by organizing it into definite plans and by expressing those in terms of action. Examination of the three major sources of knowledge will readily disclose the difficulty people would have, if they depended upon their efforts alone, in assembling knowledge and expressing it through definite plans in terms of action. If their plans are comprehensive, and if they contemplate large proportions, they must, generally, induce others to cooperate with them, before they can inject into their plans the necessary element of power. Gaining power through the mastermind. The mastermind may be defined as coordination of knowledge and effort, in a spirit of harmony, between two or more people, for the attainment of a definite purpose. No individual may have great power without availing him or herself of the mastermind. In Chapter 7, instructions were given for the creation of plans for the purpose of translating desire into its monetary equivalent. If you carry out these instructions' persistence and intelligence, and use discrimination in the selection of your mastermind group, your objective will have been halfway reached before you even begin to recognize it. So you may better understand the intangible potentialities of power available to you through the properly chosen mastermind group, we will here explain the two characteristics of the mastermind principles, one of which is economic in nature, and the other psychic. The economic feature is obvious. Economic advantages may be created by people who surround themselves with the advice, counsel and personal cooperation of a group of people who are willing to lend them wholehearted aid in a spirit of perfect harmony. This form of cooperative alliance has been the basis of nearly every great fortune. Your understanding of this great truth may definitely determine your financial status. The psychic phase of the mastermind principle is much more abstract, much more difficult to comprehend, because it refers to spiritual forces with which the human race, as a whole, is not well acquainted. You may catch a significant suggestion from this statement: no two minds ever come together without thereby creating a third, invisible, intangible force which may be likened to a third mind. Keep in mind the fact that there are only two known elements in the whole universe: energy and matter. Matter may be broken down into units of molecules, atoms and electrons. There are units of matter that may be isolated, separated and analyzed. Likewise, there are units of energy. The human mind is a form of energy, a part of it being spiritual in nature. When the minds of two people are coordinated in a spirit of harmony, the spiritual units of energy of each mind form an affinity, which constitutes the psychic phase of the mastermind. The mastermind principle, or rather the economic feature of it, was first called to my attention by Andrew Carnegie. Discovery of this principle was responsible for the choice of my life's work. Mr. Carnegie's mastermind group consisted of a staff of approximately 50 men, with whom he surrounded himself for the definite purpose of manufacturing and marketing steel. He attributed his entire fortune to the power he accumulated through this mastermind. Analyze the record of any person who has accumulated a great fortune, and many of those who have accumulated modest fortunes, and you will find that they have either consciously or unconsciously employed the mastermind principle. Great power can be accumulated through no other principle. Energy is nature's set of building blocks, out of which she constructs every material thing in the universe, including humankind, and every form of animal and vegetable life. Through a process that only nature completely understands, she translates energy into matter. Nature's building blocks are available to us in the energy involved in thinking. The brain may be compared to an electric battery. It absorbs energy from the ether, which permeates every atom of matter and fills the entire universe. A group of electric batteries will provide more energy than a single battery. An individual battery will provide energy in proportion to the number and capacity of the cells it contains. The brain functions in a similar fashion. This accounts for the fact that some brains are more efficient than others, and leads to this significant statement. A group of brains coordinated, or connected, in a spirit of harmony will provide more thought energy than a single brain, just as a group of electric batteries will provide more energy than a single battery. Through this metaphor, it becomes immediately obvious that the mastermind principle holds the secret of the power wielded by people who surround themselves with other people of brains. There follows, now, another statement which leads still nearer to an understanding of the psychic phase of the mastermind principle. When a group of individual brains is coordinated and functions in harmony, the increased energy created through that alliance become available to every individual brain in the group. Henry Ford began his business career under the handicap of poverty, illiteracy and ignorance. Within the inconceivably short period of 10 years, Mr. Ford mastered these three handicaps, and within 25 years made himself one of the richest men in America. Connect with this fact the additional knowledge that Mr. Ford's most rapid strides became noticeable from the time he became a personal friend of Thomas A. Edison, and you will begin to understand what the influence of one mind upon another can accomplish. Go a step further, and consider the fact that Mr. Ford's most outstanding achievements began from the time he formed the acquaintances of Hervé Firestone, John Burroughs and Luther Burbank, each a man of brain capacity, and you will have further evidence that power may be produced through friendly alliance of minds. There is little if any doubt that Henry Ford was one of the best informed men in the business and industrial world. The question of his wealth needs no discussion. Analyze Mr. Ford's intimate personal friends, some of whom have already been mentioned, and you will prepare to understand the following statement: people take one the nature and the habits and the power of thought of those with whom they associate in a spirit of sympathy and harmony. Henry Ford whipped poverty, illiteracy and ignorance by allying himself with great minds, whose vibrations of thought he absorbed into his own mind. Through his association with Edison, Burbank, Burroughs and Firestone, Mr. Ford added to his own brain power the sum and substance of the intelligence, experience, knowledge and spiritual forces of these four men. Moreover, he appropriated and made use of the mastermind principle through the methods described in this book. This principle is available to you. President Franklin Roosevelt brought the best minds of the country to Washington to form a mastermind group he called his Brain Trust. During and after World War II, mastermind groups called think tanks were frequently called upon by leaders of government and industry to help deal with critical problems. We have already mentioned Mahatma Gandhi. Perhaps the majority of those who have heard of Gandhi look upon him as merely an eccentric little man who went around without formal clothes, and made trouble for the British government. In reality, Gandhi was not eccentric, but he was the most powerful man of his generation, estimated by the number of his followers and their faith in their leader. Moreover, he was probably the most powerful man who ever lived. His power was passive, but it was real. Let us study the method by which he attained his stupendous power. It may be explained in a few words. He came by power through inducing over 200 million people to coordinate, with mind and body, in a spirit of harmony for a definite purpose. In brief, Gandhi accomplished a miracle, for it is a miracle when 200 million people can be induced, not forced, to cooperate in a spirit of harmony, for a limitless time. If you doubt that this is a miracle, try to induce any two people to cooperate in a spirit of harmony for any length of time. Every person who manages a business knows what a difficult matter it is to get employees to work together in a spirit even remotely resembling harmony. The list of the chief sources from which power may be attained is, as you have seen, headed by infinite intelligence. When two or more people coordinate in a spirit of harmony, and work toward a definite objective, they place themselves in position, through that alliance, to absorb power directly from the great universal storehouse of infinite intelligence. This is the greatest of all sources of power. It is the source to which the genius turns. It is the source to which every great leader turns, whether conscious of the fact or not. The other two major sources from which the knowledge necessary for the accumulation of power may be obtained are no more reliable than our five senses. The senses are not always reliable. Infinite intelligence does not err. In subsequent chapter, the methods by which infinite intelligence may be most readily contacted will be adequately described. This is not a course on religion. No fundamental principle described in this book should be interested as being intended to interfere either directly or indirectly with anyone's religious habits. This book has been confined, exclusively, to instructing the reader how to transmute the definite purpose of desire for money into its monetary equivalent. Read, think and meditate as you read. Soon, the entire subject will unfold, and you will see it in perspective. You are now seeing the detail of the individual chapters. Money is shine and elusive. It must be wooed and won by methods not unlike those used by a determined lover in pursuit of a mate. And, coincidental as it is, the power used in the wooing of money is not greatly different from that used in wooing a lover. That power, when successfully used in pursuit of money, must be mixed with faith. It must be mixed with desire. It must be mixed with persistence. It must be applied through a plan, and that plan must be set into action. Some of the best sources for creating your own mastermind group are your employees. Andrew Grove, the extremely successful CEO of Intel Corporation, did this. Grove works with a team of technical, marketing, financial and administrative men and women in an informal environment. There are no private offices, special parking spaces or other privileges for executives. Employees have a generous stock option plan so they can share in the gains if the company makes money and the stock rises. Although the team may appear casual, they follow Grove's lead of being very demanding on themselves. When Intel faced a crisis in 1976, the team willingly put in extra effort, more work hours and did everything was necessary to solve the problems. On another occasion, it was discovered that the Intel Pentium chip had a minor defect that would affect only an insignificant number of operations. Grove's decision to replace the chip at a cost of $475 million rather than deliver a product that was not perfect was fully endorsed by his colleagues. Grove encouraged his people to work in small, autonomous work units in which everyone understands the system and their role in it. Each person contributes their knowledge, expertise and creativity. Team members are trained and motivated to produce to the best of their capacity. When crises arise, the team willingly puts in the extra time, energy and brain power to meet and beat the problems faced. When money comes in quantities known as the big money, it flows to the one who accumulates it as easily as water flows downhill. There exists a great unseen stream of power, which may be compared to a river, except that it flows in two directions. One side carries all who get into that side of the stream onwards and upwards to wealth, and the other side slows in the opposite directions carrying all who are unfortunate enough to get into it, and not able to extricate themselves from it, downwards to misery and poverty. Every person who has accumulated a great fortune has recognized the existence of this stream of life. It consists of one's thinking process. The positive emotions of thought form the side of the stream that carries one to fortune. The negative emotions form the side that carries one down to poverty. This carries a thought of stupendous importance to the person who is following this book with the object of accumulating a fortune. If you are in the side of the stream of power that leads to poverty, this may serve as an oar by which you may propel yourself over into the other side of the stream. It can serve you only through application and use. Merely reading, and passing judgment on it, either one way or another. Some people undergo the experience of alternating between the positive and negative sides of the stream, being at times in the positive side, and at times on the negative side. The Wall Street crash of '29 swept millions of people from the positive to the negative side of the stream. Those millions struggled, some of them in desperation and fear, to get back to the positive side of the stream. This book was written especially for those millions. Poverty and riches often change places. Poverty may, and generally does, voluntarily take the place of riches. When riches take the place of poverty, the change is usually brought about through well-conceived and carefully executed plans. Poverty needs no plan. It needs no one to aid it, because it is bold and ruthless. Riches are shy and timid. They have to be attracted. Anybody can wish for riches, and most people do, but only a few know that a definite plan plus a burning desire for wealth are the only dependable means of accumulating it. Ross Perot's attitude exemplifies the power of tough-minded commitment, not only his own but also that of the mastermind with which he surrounded himself. He had a burning desire for wealth and he achieved it. Before he started Electronic Data System (EDS), he had been the top salesperson at IBM. He was cautioned that leaving IBM to start a company from scratch was a mistake. This did not faze Perot. He was inspired by a vision of what could be. His success clearly demonstrates that by sticking to your dream, and transmitting that dream to a team of experts, a mastermind, who have the know-how to help make it a realization, lead to success and wealth. Perot firmly believes that commitment can accomplish miracles. This was exemplified when EDS completed for one of the largest contracts in the computer industry. Two companies, IBM and EDS, were the contestants. IBM was far richer, and had in their staff a more experienced and knowledgeable group of specialists. EDS had a small but dedicated team. Perot recalls, about 30 days into the competition, I walked into the room and our 15 guys were saying, "Gee, we probably can't win but it will be great experience." I didn't jump up and down and chew people out. I just walked to the blackboard and wrote down the 7 criteria by which we would be judged. And in a nice low voice said, "We are going to beat them 7-0. That's the day we won." Perot commented that the raises, the bonuses, the stock options and thousands of new jobs created by winning this project were, of course, the tangible rewards of achieving this coup. However, he believes that more important was the immense satisfaction of knowing that by their hard work and creativity, they beat the best in the world. That's what makes a company great, a team working together as a mastermind to beat the opposition.